Hey, Stephen here. You may have been told that you need systems in your business. Lots of them. Standard operating procedures, manuals, systems and processes, but there's only one that you can rely on, and that is culture. Culture is the master system. And today, I'm going to show you 3 things around culture. The first one is to really look at what it is as a system and what it isn't. And there's so much that we can reject and throw away that comes from corporate. The next thing is I'm going to show you exactly how to build it, how to make it real, how to articulate it inside your business in a way that is advantageous to profit. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to make it real and enforce it. So let's get started. It's important that we define very clearly what culture is and what it isn't. So let's start with what it isn't. Culture in your business is not kombucha taps, it's not sleep pods, it's not bring your dog to work day. It is none of those things. Those are perks. Those are things designed to make our staff feel comfortable. They may or may not lead to retention. Those are absolutely not culture. We also want to make sure that we have a very clear definition of what it is so that we know what we're building. Culture is a set of rules that govern the behavior of everyone in the organization. Or put really simply, people like us do things like this around here. It is a set of rules around behavior. You've often heard of culture talked about values. These are our company values, and those are being cultures, that being our culture. But what's important to note here is that while values may underpin our cultural norms, we can't actually see values. So therefore we can't manage values. But I tell you what, we can see behavior. And if we can see it, we can manage it. That's the behavior we want. That behavior over there is something we don't want, so we need to stamp it out. That's why we talk about behaviors. So let's look at how we actually assess culture. So what I'm going to draw for you here is a simple XY matrix here. And you probably heard terms like, we have a great culture. Oh, we have a bad culture. I worked in this place and it had a toxic culture. We have a family culture. Those are not good ways or useful ways to describe culture because it is a system. It has to serve a purpose and it has to do something. So we actually look at 2 different planes. The first one here is strength. So is it strong? This is what we're asking. Is it strong or is it weak? Okay, and a strong culture, one that we can define as strong, is where everyone behaves the same way. Okay? The next person that arrives, they don't dilute the culture. They actually adapt to the culture that's already there. You have team members pulling each other up. It's part of the daily operating system, and it can be felt. If I walk into my client's business and I start watching the people interact, I'm getting a sense of what that culture is. And if I see a group of people over there behaving in a different way to the people over there, it's definitely weak. It's not strong. Okay, we need everyone singing from the same sheet. That's strong. Now, the other lens by which we assess culture is it unaligned to our mission? Or is it aligned? Okay. So whatever our big winning aspiration is, our culture needs to be aligned to that. So if our business is there to make a ton of money for the owners and everyone involved, then we need a culture, a set of behaviors that is aligned to that. If we are a much more mission-driven, community support giving organization, then ipso facto, we need to have a culture that is aligned to that. So based on these 2 axes, we can measure, we can say, okay, I reckon we're pretty strong in terms of culture, but we're actually not that aligned. I think the set of behaviors we've defined our culture on isn't going to help us get to where we want to go. We just draw out to where we are. This is where our culture is at the moment. Likewise, it could be here and here where we're looking this. And at any one point in time, what are we trying to do? We're trying to get our business, our culture, out to this spot. This is the cultural sweet spot. It is strong and it is aligned to the mission. There's another great lens by which we can review or assess culture. And there's not much credit I will give to Mark Zuckerberg, but in this instance I will, and he talks about culture like this. People need to be able to argue against your culture. Because a useful culture, one that is strong and appropriate, it'll draw in the people that you actually want around you, and it will push away those people that you don't want. It'll spit them out too if they accidentally get through your recruitment process. And what we're talking about here about people need to be able to argue against it. I walk into businesses a lot when I start working with them because I want to see what's going on, and invariably I'll see up on the wall that we value excellence, service, integrity, and honesty. Those are values, those are not behaviors. We're going to get into what they need to be articulated in a second. They are values, but also you can't argue against them. No one's going to sit there and say, I don't think we should be having honesty up there or integrity up there. Those are just standard things. Those are rules to play. If I went to the extreme on that honesty one, I will tell the truth even if it gets me fired. Let's say that was up on the wall. There are lots of people that would come and go, no, that shouldn't be there. I think that's ridiculous. Because there are times when I need to avoid getting fired, and if I tell a little white lie, I can fix it up later. People would believe that, and that's fine. But at least someone can argue against it. Okay? We do whatever it takes to get our clients results, even if it costs us more than they're paying us. I've used that one in one of my businesses. People say this is bullshit. We need to make money first. Yes, you can argue against it, but you're not on the side. You need to be aligned with what we've got going on here. Therefore, we have a strong culture. All right, so we've got strong and aligned, and we've got can people argue against it? It needs to be slightly weird. So that's covering off what it is and what it isn't. Let's look at how we actually develop it. And so what I'd suggest you to do, you may have a culture already, but you're probably sitting here, you've done your assessment of it on that graph, and you've gone, we actually need to articulate this properly, or we need to do it for the first time, or we need to do this again because it ain't working. Because once you get everyone in your business singing from the same hymn sheet, aligned with behaviors, that every time a situation crops up, they know exactly how to behave, and they know exactly what to do in each situation, you can leave your business alone. You can let someone else run it. It becomes quite easy, and this is why I call it the master system. So what we do is we get the team involved. You just can't come in and go, this is the culture. If you have a team, you already have a culture, a set of norms. So we need to shift it slightly. So we've got to get everyone involved. And what I like to do is something called the win-kill exercise. And in fact, it's the kill part of this exercise that works the most. Because the human brain is interesting. It's far better at finding problems than it is at creating solutions. So what we do is the win-kill exercise. So what we do, let's say you're running a workshop, you've got a whiteboard or you've got butcher's paper, and let's put kill up on the butcher's paper. And what we do is we just get everyone to start shouting out, what kind of behaviors would we have to exhibit here in this organization in order to kill it, in order to stop us achieving our mission? Our winning aspiration, to destroy this company. And you'll start to get people who will say, we would lie to customers. So that one always comes up when I do this workshop with teams. Lie to customers. We would not keep our promises. So this one, these are the type of answers we want. We'd phone it in. We wouldn't give 100%. That's one that we might be getting. Our mindset might be that it's just a job. It's just a job. We might following on from that, we might have that line of, it's not my job. It's not in my job description, some version of that. We've all heard that. How frustrating is that when you're a boss? Okay, so when you work through this, you might get 20, 30 answers. You want to just keep collecting them, as many as you can get. The brain is great at finding these things. Now, this is actually now forms the basis of your culture. What we're not going to do. We're going to avoid this at all costs. We still need to articulate it, but we're going to avoid it at all costs. So what do you think the next heading is going to be? Is win. And once again, we go through the same exercise. We would keep our promises. We would show ownership, might be one. Ownership might be a very strong part of any culture, and I can't be convinced that ownership and personal accountability I can't see any organization where that won't be useful as part of a culture. So there you go. You've got one from me straight away that should be in your organization, so on and so forth. So you'll get all these answers, and what you'll notice is your team will find it harder to come up with the win than they do with the kill. It's just the way the brain works. Your job now is to go and turn these into a cultural statement. These live on 1 page, 2 page max. And you'll have a heading that, so in one of my businesses, we have I call them points of culture. And so we have one that says, we create raving fans. That's the heading, okay? It's not customer service, even though that's what we're talking about. It's we create raving fans. And we're starting to get to the essence of how you bring culture to life. We're moving on to this third part, okay? We've done the win kill exercise. Now it's how do we actually bring it to life, and how do we manage it, and how do we enforce it? So after the win kill exercise, we get these headings, and I wouldn't suggest going more than 6. If you've got like 10 points of culture, people are not going to remember it, so therefore it's not going to work. Okay, 3 or 4 is a great number. 6 max, all right, 6 max. But then you're going to have 2 paragraphs underneath. And paragraph 1 is going to be, I live the culture by. Okay, and you will actually set out some bullet points of explicit behaviors. And what do you think is I am not living the culture when, and you will also explicitly state what you don't want. Where do you think these come from? They come from the win kill exercise. So we create raving fans, okay, is in every interaction, I find moments to go above and beyond. In every interaction with the customers, I create a moment of delight. The customer's needs and wishes come before my own. There are things like that we're putting down. One of the ones I had to enforce around this in my business was I am not living the culture when I gossip about our customers. In one of my businesses, I have a call center or a customer team that are on the phones a lot. And I used to find them, they'd have a difficult customer. And yeah, sure, they were being a bit of a shit. But I watched them all just fire each other up around, oh, they said this and they said that. And I go, nah, we're not doing that anymore. Because that's the kind of stuff that leads us to resent our customers. And if we start doing that, we can't meet the we create raving fan. So I actually put it down in writing. I am not living the culture when, in the first person, gossip about customers. All right, so you're going to have your 4 or 5, maximum 6 of these. You're going to have the interesting name, the title for it. Then you're going to have I'm live it when I do these, and I'm not living it when I do those. Once you've got those, we turn this into a cultural agreement. And I've got a template for the cultural agreement. It'll be in the notes below this video. I recommend that you grab that, make your own, go through this process and get all of your team to actually read it, sign it. It's important that they sign it. It's not a legal document, but it is what we call the culture agreement. And so once you've got agreement to it, things will actually start to change. But if you don't do anything else from that point, that change will fade away. We have to constantly reinforce it. And so the best way to do this is around giving feedback and recognition. And then there's a last action that if you really want to get lots of ticks for this, I'll tell you what it is, and it involves firing. So in terms of feedback, if you have someone whose behavior isn't aligned with the stated and agreed upon culture, then you need to give feedback on that behavior. So this is not about performance in metrics, it's behavioral performance. And that's part of the gig. If you're going to get a paycheck and you need to perform quantitatively, so measuring the role, but you also need to behave the way that we've decided and we've stipulated. If not, you can't be here. It's pretty simple. Okay? And so let's say I walk into my office and I hear 3 people talking, gossiping about bad-mouthing a customer. And those have all signed the culture agreement. I've got the standards up on the wall, okay? It's in the onboarding manual. And I can simply ask the question, I go, hey, Bob, I noticed that you're gossiping about that customer. How does that fit with the stated and agreed upon culture? And by simply asking that question, I get that, oh, it doesn't, and they feel bad, and then they go, okay, so what are you going to do in the future? And I'll say, no, I'm never going to do it again. I'm going to shut down my teammates when they do it. Great. It's such a powerful mechanism to get behavior change, but only if you set it up properly and have them agree to it. That simple question is so powerful because they can't argue. They've agreed to it. Now, the next one is recognition. The best kind of feedback is positive feedback. You've got to catch people aligned, okay? And you've got to shower them in praise. You've got to put them up in lights. Hey, I just want to shout out at the All Hands. 2 months ago, Bob and I, we had to give him some feedback around talking about customers behind their back and so on and so forth. But what, to his credit, Bob has not done that since. And even better, I have seen Bob call Mary out when she tried to do it. And Bob said, hey, look, I get that customer's frustrating you, but this is a slippery slope. If we start gossiping about them and bad-mouthing them, we just can't show up at our best. So what are we going to do now? And Bob, I just want to put our hands together, really living the culture. That is awesome. So you can start to do this. The other thing is you want to have stories about people living the culture. Culture is alive in lore, L-O-R-E. Those stories that really reflect people who have displayed the behavior and the attitudes that you want in your culture. Okay, so we're going to give feedback when people aren't living it. We're going to give recognition when they aren't. And if you really want to have a strong and aligned culture that is off the charts, that is impenetrable, okay? And by the way, I haven't said this before, but it is the CEO or general manager's accountability is culture. So that's probably you if you're a business owner. What we want to do is get you out of the business and put a general manager in, and then it's going to be their responsibility. But you build it first and hand it over to them. So if you really want that strong and aligned one that is bulletproof, and you will be faced with this. If you stay in business long enough and you're having a red hot crack and you're growing, you will be faced with this scenario. You will have a high performer. For some reason, they're typically in sales, but you will have a high performer who's making their numbers, they're knocking it out of the park, yet they are so unaligned with the culture. Their behavior is so bad, it's infecting the others. It is just, they're shitting all over everything. And the moment you fire that person, even though they're performing because you've given them feedback and they won't change and they continue to behave in a way that is unaligned, that's the day you fortify your entire business around your culture. Everybody else goes, he or she, they are serious about this. And I'm so glad, boss, that you got rid of them. Now we can flourish. And I love that your morals are so high that the culture is stronger than any one individual here. And then you have a rock solid business where everyone knows how to behave in any moment, that they can actually step up and do the things you require, grow the business, take care of it in times of chaos, because you've predetermined what behaviors, how aligned they are, who you're going to let into your business, who you're going to kick out of your business. The world is yours from that moment. So I hope this has been helpful. If you check out some of our other videos or download some of my tools, if you have a business with a team and you want them to step up and run it for you, this is the place. Thank you and keep pushing.